higher corn stocks in the US and higher corn exports in the US. We are going to discuss the results of that in the market right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So, Jerry, we have had the USDA December report this week, and we have had higher corn exports and higher corn stocks in the United States. So, do you think the market has reacted accordingly in that case?
Oh, I think that definitely from the standpoint of the stronger U.S. exports, and also they increased our ethanol usage by 50. But 200 million adjustment did take our 24, 25 U.S. corn stocks uh, down 200 million. So that definitely it makes some sense to me on the whole thing. The biggest thing in this thing is that will they USDA in its January report, which is going to be coming out on the 10th of January, will they still stay with their overall yields? They did make some adjustments here in the soybean side of things from the standpoint that they did not uh, make any adjustments in the stock production numbers there. They did that the previous month, and they went ahead and uh, left their exports and U.S. crush unchanged. And we're still running at a very hot pace here on the U.S. crush, and to some extent, we're substantially above the export sales at this point than by about 140 million. So the USDA's reports had some logical responses here to the recent strength in overseas demand for corn and soybeans. And they definitely made some adjustments in the corn and that. But on the bean side, I think they kind of punted this month from the standpoint that they had made this adjustments last month on demand, and they decided not to go right back after adjusting them downward last month. They'll probably have to do that next month if this continues in the as it is right now. Looking forward on U.S. supply demands.
Now, for
Always
soybeans, there wasn't much of a change, right?
No, there wasn't. They left everything the same on corn, excuse me, on soybean exports and soybean crush. And well, the crush has been very good. We're going to get an update on the first indications of our November crop crush, I should say, on Monday of this coming week. And the twist of that is that we've had some expansion in some new plants come on board that have not officially, I think, being part of the NOPA association. So this is going to be a NOPA estimate at this point. Seasonally, we've usually have some declines here in November because of the Thanksgiving holiday and one less day of operations. It's only 30 days in November versus 31 in October. And, that makes a difference. If you don't have one day, you're going to lose out 5 to 7 million or more of output. But interestingly enough, I think that we have the same kind of issue here in December too, on some if the weather's not good and there's taking off a little downtime. But I kind of feel like that the one thing we haven't got totally fixed into this thing is these new plants coming on board. It turns out, interestingly enough, last month's final production number for October was 215.7 versus a 200 million number. So that's a wider relationship than we've tended to have in the past between the NOPA number and the USDA's final total crush statistics. It's normally in the 11 the 12 million or even 10 to 12 million number. And so here we are at 5.7 or 8 million, 5.7 to 6 million total over the previous NOPA number. So definitely things to look at going along in that on the corn and soybeans here. But I think, of course, this time of year, the focus is always on South America. And of course, we'll have
Yeah, in South America, we have had that record uh, planting progress in Argentina, but also right now there are several reports about spotty dry areas in that same country. And yet in Brazil, the most of the reports is that the crop is going well.
totally agree. That's exactly the kind of reports I'm hearing too. Uh, the rain activity sometimes even was a little too wet in parts of southern Brazil and Paraguay. And that originally I was really kind of concerned about Paraguay being dry, and that has been a kind of a swing factor here the last few years where it's either 10 million metric tons or six. But this year, at least, it looks like it's not going to have any big dip. But the dryness has still occurred in parts of Cordoba and also La Pampas and maybe parts of Buenos Aires on the western side from there. And that not outrageous at this point. The one thing that you kind of pointed up is that the planning's pace has been pretty solid. There still seems to be a lot of discrepancies as to what level of corn plantings we're going to have in Argentina, and that their progress numbers are still in this 50 plus type stuff, and maybe 60 for beans, and that. But I think it has to do with the fact that they're not going to plant as many acres of corn because of this whole issue of leafhoppers and that. And the interesting thing is in the latest USDA's monthly report, they went ahead and boosted the soybean output by 1 million metric tons from 51 to 52. But at the same time, they didn't adjust downward the Argentinian output at 51. They left it unchanged, which is kind of a head scratcher. Now I understand that weather can make up for things in plantings and that. But the twist of it is that this whole issue about leafhoppers still there, and I don't know. Some people think it's just a 1 year phenomenon. Other people are quite concerned. I kind of feel like that I've heard as much as 25% less plantings. I don't think that's right either. I think it's going to be 10 or 12 less plantings. But you put it all together, there's definitely some head scratching ideas going on in Argentina's
So in
production.
that scenario, what do you think is going to happen in the markets in the next couple of weeks? So we are not going to record in the upcoming week. So give us your perspective based on the South American and the US crops.
Well, I think that right now we kind of bumped up to the high side of the range here on corn on Wednesday of this week. Kind of mentioned and that we could see some resistance up in there in the 450 level basis March, and that's kind of what's happened. Backed off from there. Uh, from that standpoint, the beans, similar situation. We've kind of hit up against the $10 mark and haven't seen it going through. Kind of feel like we're going to continue in that kind of regime here. South America, weather-wise, if this weather does not really come through, and there's some forecasts that things are going to turn around in Argentina here at the middle latter part of next week, and that. But if it doesn't, I think that's going to be a feature, and that could continue to keep us going back and forth in this recent trading range here on both corn and soybeans here. From that standpoint, the also the numbers that we might see on Monday of this coming week on U.S. soybean NOPA crush, I think, are going to be in the 197, 198 eight, maybe. And if that somehow or other turns up to be higher than that, that could be a positive too for these things to continue to move along. This during the Christmas holiday, though, and that it tends to be a lot of people will be shutting down with the uh, holiday right in the middle of the week here this year. It means I think that even by the middle of this coming week, things are going to start to weaken up, and it'll be pretty quiet out there on volatility, and that until we get back after Christmas, and sometimes it doesn't even get back until after the first of the year. But we are going to have our January crop report numbers on the 10th of January, so there might be some people coming back uh, after New Year's here, which is going to be, of course, on a Wednesday too, a couple weeks from now. So lots of things in front of us here. Kind of feel like that the USDA data, though, in January, I think is going to potentially have some repercussions here. We had this adjustment in the soybean yields in the U.S. Last month, and USDA went down 7/10 in November. I think they could potentially easily be a bushel to maybe as much as a bushel and a half down, and that could easily change this 1.74 carryover stock down closer to maybe even down to 1.5 billion bushels. That's definitely going the right way on things, but I don't know that that in itself is going to turn around things. We're going to still have to get excited about what's going on in South America. And these days, the issues in the Black Sea, I think, are still hanging out there. In the wheat side of things, actually, our sales have been going well comparison to previous years, and the USDA actually took 25 million out of our carryover stock because of expanded wheat sales, and that the real twist of it was over the same last few days here they've looks like they've decided to increase their Australian crop size by 500,000 metric tons. So Australia is always an interesting one this time of year because they're kind of in an interesting time. They're not in the South America or in North America or Europe on the production side, so they're out there is going to be a factor. But overall, the wheat market continues to kind of trend sideways like the rest of them. So we'll see what happens with the numbers as we get closer to the end of the month.
All right. We'll see you. Merry Christmas, Mr. Gidel.
Yes, we'll be trying to get together on the 27th of the month, and then, of course, then on the 3rd of January, because bang, zoom, the report's out on the 10th.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.